Hello and welcome. How are we doing today? I'm Baka, or Ender Dragonoth, and I am a huge anime nerd. Today, I'm going to bring you the next episode, an old Baka Rants at Cloud, and this time, it will actually be a rant. In the previous episodes, I've been going over the power of intros, or proper conclusions. However, today, I want to step back and talk a little bit about anime culture, and how it's come up recently, multiple times, that anime isn't always necessarily for kids, no matter what some people might think. As a preface, most of my other episodes, I at least had a general outline of what I was going to be saying, while most of the stuff was improv. This one, though, I have no real outline, so I may be jumping back and forth between different ideas as we're going through. There's also not going to be much of a video component to this episode, as it is mainly a rant. Also, I apologize in advance for any cat noises you may hear, as I'm recording slightly later than normal and both cats are more active than they typically are. Now, there are three aspects that I see could make anime not just for kids. There's the obvious sex, which we've seen in series such as interspecies reviewers. There's violence, which we can see in scenes like Goblin Slayer. But there's also psychological and emotional stuff that can be brought in by series like Violet Evergarden. Now, each one of these series is kind of drastically different. One is a very, very out there comedy that, honestly, I'm not sure ever really should have been made into an anime and probably should have just been a hentai, but that's neither here nor there. Or the very serious tone of Goblin Slayer, where the only thing that matters is eliminating the smallest foe that everybody else ignores. Or the very serious tale of a young woman that has lost the first love of her life and is trying to find a place back in this world, and goes through and learns emotions, because beforehand all she was just a weapon. Now, I'm going to be focusing mostly on that third section, as the first two are honestly easy mode. I can pull up countless sexual anime, countless extremely violent anime. Hell, I can even combine the two. I'm looking at you, High School of the Dead. Yes, I love you. Yes, you're amazing. Yes, I can you also bring in the psychological horror of a zombie film then. However, I don't want to touch hypersonic boobs yet again. So instead, let's look at something that's more serious, as I already brought up one example, Violet Evergarden. Now, I have a small confession to make. I've never actually finished Violet Evergarden. The reason for that is I get up to about the 10th episode. The episode where Violet is helping the mother that is sick write letters. And that episode literally gives me depression, because that is something that I would do given that situation. Violet Evergarden touches on deep emotions. Emotions for people that may have depression or anxiety. Emotions that people don't always want to bring up and talk about, because you have the perfect blank canvas. You have Violet, somebody that had no emotion until the start of this, and is learning emotion through others, and she's learning what they meant to her herself as it's going through the story. I literally can't finish this anime because it gives me a depression spiral. It makes me feel, it makes me cry. And that is not something that somebody that is younger may always unnecessarily understand. As somebody whose introduction to actual anime was Neon Genesis Evangelion, the original TV edit, not even Death and Rebirth, I don't know if I could understand Violet Evergarden when I was younger. I think I could only understand it now, as I've gone through the trials and tribulations of life, of depression, of anxiety, of all these other things. And it's one of the reasons why I want to finish this series, but I can't. To me, it is obvious that Violet Evergarden was not aimed at somebody that is younger, but it can still speak to them. However, it's not something that is for a child. At best, it is similar to the young adult genre that we see in novels. It is a story of self-exploration and discovery, not one of learning. It's honestly more of a coming of age, as it does break from the traditional hero's journey. Violet Evergarden shows one aspect of an adult-style theme, shall we say, of the deep emotions that can come to somebody personally. Another anime that I love and honestly doesn't get as much love as I would expect is Rideback from Madhouse. It is a fantastic anime that is set in a not-so-distant future and is all about a personal story of finding one's place in a larger world. We follow our main character after she has a life-changing injury where she was a ballerina, but twisted her ankle and is unable to perform anymore. So she finds a new hobby in her college, accidentally finding a rideback, a motorcycle that can transform from a standard motorcycle form into a standing up form and has arms. Now, when they were first introduced, they were introduced by the military, used to be attacking a nuclear base to give legitimacy to a, at that point, rebel uprising, but now world-spanning government. And what she does is a very, very personal journey as she gets caught up in different things that happen. Going and saving a friend on a city that's in lockdown because the government's solution to terrorism is not always necessarily friendly to the people held hostage. Actually, in fact, most of the other hostages die, except our main character goes and saves her friend and becomes part of the rebellion, or at least that's what the government sees, and that's how she's portrayed by the media. But honestly, she's just a lost person. She has no grounding. She doesn't know what to stand up for herself, for society, what she needs to do, and she becomes the symbol. She becomes the ride-back girl that this rebellion uses. But that's not who she really is. And this anime delves into that idea of her realizing eventually, while it's not who she wanted to be, it is becoming who she needs to be. Not for herself, but for others, as she inspires them to stand up and make a difference. And she also discovers this through the loss of not the friend she saved, but another person. A fan turned into a kohai, somebody that she was looking after, somebody that she was inspiring. And she didn't realize her role in her life until that life was snuffed out. At which point she decides to stand up and become the symbol and show the darkness that this government is hiding. And she becomes the rideback girl. She becomes a symbol. And she learns how to dance on one of these motorcycles and shows the world what is going on. This is definitely a story that's not for everyone. It's a story that can be personal about what you can do after you have one set path for your life literally get torn from you without notice, and what it takes to find a new life, to find a new way to move on, and sometimes the loss that can be associated with that final driving push. Rideback is not a happy story. It is a sad and tragic story, but it is a good anime. And something that, again, I personally feel is not for somebody that is younger, as it requires some life experience to get the full story and the full idea from. There are definitely more examples than what I have here, and this is probably something I will return to at some point, because I could talk about things like Akira, and how I probably should not have watched that when I was 10 years old. Or another one, Library Wars, about how people literally pick up arms to counteract censorship. Or anything from Satoshi Kon, such as Paranoia Agent, Millennium Actress, or the fantastic Paprika movie, as those are definitely not for kids. Or I could bring it back up Kokoro Connect, as that is more of a coming-of-age story than anything else. I could also bring up some of the psychological thrillers like Erased, or another anime I refuse to watch, The Promised Neverland, or another old-school title that is near and dear to my heart, Infinite Revias, or Lord of the Flies in Space. Or I could bring up High School of the Dead and Goblin Slayer again. There are a lot of options for this, and again, this is a series I plan on continuing as well. Similar to the power of intros or the yet unnamed conclusions. There are many, many options, as anime is wide and as diverse as most American TV is. Because let's be honest, would you really want to show a 6-year-old Breaking Bad? Or a 10-year-old SVU? I personally would not, but I know some people do. So it is a matter of opinion. But just because something is in a cartoonish style, by no means makes it for kids anymore. Again, this was the first episode with a more free-form approach. No actual outline, just kind of seeing where things go. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't more takes, but again, any type of feedback you have will always be much appreciated. And then if you like it, please like and subscribe. If you have any feedback for me, please comment down below, and I'll try to respond as best I can and come up with some new ideas. Again, this is an ever-evolving series, and it's always appreciated any type of feedback I can get. And as always, if you can't get enough of me here, you can always catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/EnderDragonoff. I basically will be streaming again every other day that I'm not actually uploading anything. But that's all I have for you today, so thanks again for joining me, and stay safe.